What's up, everybody? This is Drew, and I want to welcome you back to Learn How to See Better. It's the only podcast out there that'll improve your vision the longer you listen. And in this episode, I want to share with you some of the ways that I'm learning how to see a little bit better in my latest adventure. And in this latest adventure, I've been feeling a little bit like a superhero of sorts. And I'm going to share more about that in just a moment, but think of your favorite superhero and times when you maybe have had to step into the role of a superhero. And that's what I'm going to share with you guys a little bit today in what I like to call the adventures of Super Dad. Now, in the latest adventure of Super Dad, I'm kind of chuckling because I'm excited about the birth of our newest family addition and the joy that we're all experiencing from this blessing that's in our lives right now. And it's wild to think, the introduction of life into the world and how dependent this new life is on its surroundings to really thrive or, not thrive, let's just say, for simplicity's sake. And in this case, it's a blessing to have a loving home environment to welcome our child into. And it's great. And with this, I've come to see that during this transitional time, there's a lot going on. Baby's being introduced to the world. Mommy's recovering from the birth process. And dad's got to kind of wear that extra hat of stepping in and kind of being both parents for a second, so to speak. I think there was a movie back in the day, Mr. Mom or something like that. But I look at it as like Super Dad trying to come through and save the day and really play the role of both parents, at least for a quick hot second, while we just adjust to the transition. And it's kind of wild because you sometimes get a chance to really appreciate how much is going on and how much the parental team have in their combined power to be able to seemingly tackle the world. Because when it's down to one engine on the jet flying, it's like, oh boy, here we go. We're gonna have to get a little creative with how we go about things here. So what makes the concept of this Super Dad idea so unique, and why I kind of spell it out like this, is it's not as though being a parent, I'm not used to some of the duties of parenthood and some of those joys that we get to take on. But I chuckle because one of the unique things about dad in this case is, as a business owner, it's not like I've got to tackle the family responsibilities and just show up at a job and punch the clock, show up and then disappear at the end of the day. It's like, okay, I've got a business I'm trying to run here, and there's a lot to think of. And the funny part of it is a lot of the training and evolution of the business owner is really kind of a mindset shift from looking at things like a solopreneur to really looking at things more like a CEO and being able to delegate tasks and be able to, really lean into your genius zone and automate things as you can. But, it's not like you really automate parenthood. There may be things that you do repeatedly. There may be things that you can delegate from time to time, but we're not all the way quite there yet. Even with the advancements of AI, I haven't seen one that's rocking the baby to sleep quite yet. But as I think through and talk about this example of where it's almost like a training that's really evolving the mind to be efficient and delegate and make the highest, best use of time. And then there's other instances where it's like, hey, for things around the house where I need to be, really dialed in to covering the bases where I might not have been thinking about those things in a more divided work landscape. It's like there's a whole lot of details to, daycare that can be daunting as well, that I have to get into, making sure I've got enough snacks to go around for the birthday week, and the refill of the nap time sheets and things that were nowhere on the radar as I'm looking at P&L and expansion. And there's this interesting dichotomy of sorts between the space in the mind that you're making to make sure you deliver and show up fully and be present as dad, and also, not fall victim to, the kryptonite, which is, in this case, sometimes seeming like the more that you make sure that you are holding it down and handling the dad responsibilities. It's like, oh no, is the kryptonite that you're less of the business owner and able to execute on all fronts of advancement of the business. And so that's that kind of tug of war, if more of the shift is around changing the diapers than changing your offers. How well is Super Dad performing in the adventures of building the business and keeping the family stable? And so I chuckle because there's some exciting things that I'm looking forward to being able to do this year. And there's a lot of good things that we've got going on. And you recognize that everything's got its proper place. And it's that friendly reminder that there are like a race car track, when even though you might be trying to have your best performance lap or your best performance race in your career, you're not necessarily going top speed 100% of the course. There could be some curves and some twists and some obstacles in the way that you need to be able to adjust for. And so the classic top speed mentality is not always applicable for every season of the race or for every race in the career. And so recognizing that, it's been good for me to be able to have the awareness of there's times where we got to be able to shift gears and be able to respond in such a way that we make changes and course corrections so that we don't create a scenario where we're in react mode, right? And so as I look at this as back to playing my role of Super Dad, there's things that no differently that might be best for the children can be best for the grown-ups as well. And looking to in my process of being the best dad I can be during this very unique time in our family's growth journey, it's making sure that I'm really showing up to be the best me in all arenas. And so it's not about necessarily how fast I can go as far as making things happen in the business, but it doesn't mean I drop the ball in business as well. And as much as I want to be involved with the family and in this transition, step up and make sure that I'm able to provide in all the ways that I can while we handle what we need to, that I'm also not smothering or stifling the natural energy and flow and development of the squad. I've got children that are growing older and want to be able to spend more time with friends and have activities of their own. And so I want to be able to give them space for that and also be present. So it's a really interesting time where I get a chance to see what are the natural pulls that we can feel coming from the world around us. You think about the time that if you're a parent, the time you might spend in the hospital when the baby's first born, and how you've pretty much been able to block off, portions of your life outside of letting some loved ones come in and see the little one. You've probably got, your phone's silenced. You've got your vacation mode turned on, for your phone. You've told your boss you're out of office. So you've kind of built this little bubble around yourself. And so in many cases, you can kind of pause the world. But what you also recognize is the world doesn't stop just because you kind of took a time out or you pulled a pit stop. It's really the better analogy. You're taking a pit stop, but the race is continuing on. And so it is a unique balancing act to look at how you can be ambitious and say, I'm gonna step in to this role and really make sure that I can be there and be present in what's the last run, right? Kiddo number 5, we're tapping out. I'm done. I think that's a safe statement from both sides. And so to make sure I make the most of this, there's a couple of things that I want to kind of take from my past experiences when I was younger and more ambitious, and looking at this season where I still need to be able to, keep things running full speed in other areas. Now the older, more mature, wiser me is saying, hey, just like you look at your kid that's 10 years older, there's going to be a time when this is all behind you and you'll be looking back for these moments of calm and be able to enjoy the fact that I took time to prioritize those moments and didn't let the drive and the push and the call and the urgency of the world completely take over. Easier said than done. So to be able to do things like embrace some of my, domestic duties, while mom's during recovery, and being able to, find joy in the fact that, hey, I remember when I didn't want to get up in the morning to go to school, some of those days. So give a little grace to the kiddos. I was the one that wanted to be the nice dad and let them stay up a little bit later and watch that show or have that snack. So, let's be able to just kind of have a little bit of flexibility in our setup as we go through this, because that balancing act is one that's more art than science, and giving ourselves grace for those situations where we realize, okay, maybe I've been a parent before, but I've never been a parent of 5 before. I've never been a parent of a preteen as well as a newborn at the same time before. So there's always going to be adjustments. Okay, never had to deal with the newborn, with the other kids bickering, with with this going on here and this going on there. So it's always something that's new, and it doesn't mean that we're not cut out for it. It's just a transition as we go through and go up to the next level where we would expect things to be a little bit more difficult. We'd be all a little bit surprised if we got to 5th grade and we're like, oh, this is way easier than 4th grade, and it feels more like 3rd grade. That's not what we expect. We kind of expect a little bit of progressive challenge to help us grow. And that's the season that we're in right now, season of growth. And as we go through the season of growth and recognize that growth and a change in comfort can go hand in hand, there's a lot of lessons that can be taken away. Lessons that life will teach us around being flexible in your plans, because you've done this before, might think it's easy, but there's a different dynamic in play now. Or there may be instances where you recognize that not just being flexible, but being more patient with the process. You might have all the ambition in the world, but might need to move at a different pace, because it's not just you. You've got a whole crew here. And to take advantage of the funny moments that can come from the simple examples in life. When, the kids don't want to get up to go to school that day. Does it mean that they're just trying to be difficult? Maybe they just want to be a little bit more playful. Maybe they want to spend a little bit more with time with you, or have you, be a little bit more jovial in the way that you get them going for the day. There's all sorts of instances where this time that I'm taking to really make sure that, which isn't just a dedicated time for this, really an all the time thing, but it's highlighted and in your face when you recognize that, wow, okay, we were not that long ago just celebrating being out of diapers across the board with the kids, and now we're kind of running the clocks back. This is interesting, a new dynamic. So we move into that space and welcome it. And my big takeaway is not allowing the adventures of Super Dad to be viewed as a negative thing, because there's a couple of days where you're running around and just seems like you're going from next thing to the next. We've got to get this kid to baseball, another one to basketball, another one to soccer, but don't forget there's dinner in the grocery store, and wait, what else is happening this day and the next? And it can be a little bit wild, but at the same time, when everybody's doing great at the end of it all, it's like, hey, it's may sound like a complicated chaos from the surface, but at the end of the day, everybody's getting along just fine and doing great. So call the adventure successful in the end as we conclude this phase, this section, this portion of the tale. And until the next adventure in Super Dad comes along, I'll be sure to keep you by my side and let you know what the latest is, because there's always something new around the corner and different ways to be able to express the learning that we receive, to express the way that we can pick up new nuggets on how to see life through a different lens. And so, some of you out there got your own stories of being super dad or super mom. Yeah, share those with me. I'd love to be able to dive a little bit deeper on some of the things learned and how to apply those superpowers. There's a superpower in being fascinated instead of frustrated. That's one I learned from Jim Rohn. It's so much of a shift in perspective that we can put on things that make all of the difference. And so these are really growth opportunities to take these moments that might seem frustrating as a parent, to become fascinated at how, super dad can respond to all these changes in the plan and needing to do things that he may not be all the way prepared and focused on doing, whether it's, oh, wait, I swore I had, kids' lunches packed with me when we left for school. How did I leave those at home? How did I, have everything packed and ready to go, and then it just didn't make it into the truck? How did we not cover that? I thought all the boxes and everything was checked before we took off. But these are moments you learn and just say, hey, it doesn't have to be perfect to come together perfectly. So that's what I've got for you all in this episode, whether you're a parent or not. If this is part of your equation, it's some chuckles that you can get, and maybe it's some part of your future if you're not a parent just yet. But we've all got our form of kryptonite, but it's all something that we can look at as a reframe to be able to lessen the effects of that perceived limitation, because a true superhero can come through in the time of need. And that's exactly what's happening here. So I'm having fun in my role of super dad, going through my latest adventure here in my squad of 5 that we are on this journey with. So lots of fun, more to share, lessons in patient parenting principles that I think I shared on a previous podcast episode, definitely being put into place here as I navigate these new waters. So thanks again for listening, and be sure to share it with a parent. If you know one out there that feels like they might be going through a bit of an adventure, they might be able to relate to some of this and have a moment that they can take a deep breath and recognize, hey, I think everything is going to be all right. So again, thanks for listening to this episode, and I'll be sure to catch you on the next one. This is your host, Drew Davis, signing off. Learn how to see better, the only podcast out there that'll improve your vision the longer you listen.